Let's dive into today's show, guys. Lots to get to, and we start with the reminder that the UCSS Fantasy Football League is going back to Yahoo Fantasy this year. This entire episode of UCSS actually is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chats, get your draft boards ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and overreactions that we all live for. It all goes down on Yahoo Fantasy. The UCSS Fantasy League is going back to Yahoo, and you should too. We're going to figure out how to
We'll let you know on Tuesday, 2 fans are going to be members of this league, just like last year. We're going to pick 2 new fans, and we'll let you know on Tuesday how you have to do it.
Wait, we had 2 fans in our league last year?
We
Butters
did.
and Sam, who were both terrific additions. We're going to get 2 new fans in this
so
year.
So they're out, and
they're out.
Yes.
Every year we're going to put 2 new fans in.
So we're going to let you guys know.
What do we have, 12 teams then?
12 teams.
Okay.
We're going to let you guys know next Tuesday,
idea.
1 week before the draft, how to enter, and then we will let you guys know how to get in. But to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win it all. It all begins on August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, guys, the Browns preseason finale is set for this Saturday. It is the Browns versus the Rams. We know Joe Flacco is going to start the game. He's going to play between 20 and 25 snaps. That was according to Kevin Stefanski. Then Dillon Gabriel will take over, and then Shedeur Sanders will follow up Dillon Gabriel. We still don't know exactly the Rams' plans. Sean McVay historically has not played any of his starters in the preseason. He has not given any exact clarity to if that will change this year. So quality of competition, who knows? It's literally a complete question mark as of 10 a.m. on Friday morning. But the question I wanted to ask you guys is, we saw Shedeur against Carolina. We saw Dillon against the Eagles. 2 separate opponents. This time we will get our first evaluation of the 2 rookie quarterbacks side by side against the same opponent. Will that give us a better understanding of where each of quarterback is by seeing them against the same opponent? Or because it's the preseason, it just frankly isn't a good indicator of really any long-term value? What say you?
To me, you learn nothing or virtually nothing as a fan or a media member in the preseason. You're certainly going to learn nothing. I know you said we don't know what the Rams are going to do. Sean McVay has never played his starters.
It doesn't matter. By the time those guys get in, they'll be
in the second half.
That's right.
They'll be showered.
Yeah, I mean, you might be looking at. I mean, they're both going to be playing, especially Shedeur, because he's going in third. But probably both of them are going to be playing not only against backups, but many guys who are not going to be on a roster.
Right.
So what do I learn? Plus, it's vanilla. Like a lot of these defensive coaches, especially, they're showing nothing in the preseason. They don't want to show anything. They're playing. Again, if a quarterback looks terrible in the preseason, that's a little interesting and eye-opening that maybe there's something wrong that even in this. But a guy looking good in the postseason, in the preseason, I don't care if it's Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, I don't care who it is, any rookie quarterback, it doesn't, to me, you believe what you want to believe, to me, it doesn't matter. It matters to the team, it matters to them, it's important reps and important learning tools for them. But in terms of us being able to understand who's good and who's not, I think we gain nothing out of it for me.
I completely agree. And to your point, a lot of these guys, especially in the second half, they're going to be cut.
Right.
They won't be on the roster. And I would even go so you said it's interesting to you when a guy plays poorly. To me, when a guy plays poorly in the preseason, there's red flags everywhere. If you can't get it done against the most simplistic base, non-exotic, no blitz defenses, there's a real problem.
Yeah.
Because if you can't handle it at that speed, how are you going to handle it
fair.
when they start coming from all angles and you don't know where they're coming from? You're not really calling out blitz pickups. You're not changing protections. Everything is, we're going to put our 11 out, you put your 11 out, we're going to go 101, you're going to go 101. And it is what it is. If you can't run fast at that speed, that's a jog on the treadmill. That's a 4. If you can't handle the 4, what's going to happen when we kick it up to a 10 when the live action starts coming? So I won't be overly impressed by anything that I see in the preseason. I think what's ultimately going to happen here is that we're going to carry everybody into the season. And I also believe that at some point during the season, everyone's going to get a chance to play. And that's when I'll start making judgments on Dillon, Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Right now, they've done enough to keep their heads above water, both of them.
Yeah.
They haven't done enough to win the starting job, that's for sure. So when they get a chance to play in the regular season, I'll start making my opinion.
They weren't winning the starting job unless everybody got hurt.
Everybody.
That was the only way.
Yep.
And
Well, unless they were so outstanding you couldn't keep them off the field.
I mean, once that's happened in the last 25 years, that was Russ Wilson.
For a later round pick.
For a later round pick, yeah. That's the only time.
Because it rarely happens.
Brock
that a player
Purdy
actually
didn't take
does it.
over. Didn't start
No.
after
December.
training camp.
December.
Right. It took the entire season before
And 2 injuries.
the coach finally said, "Look, you want the best guy? He's the best guy."
And Winkie was the other one, Chris Winkie.
Right.
Those are, and then
Right. It's rare. I don't even think Winkie played that well. I just think
no,
they
he
had
didn't.
no quarterback.
They drafted him in the 4th
Russell
round. though, and he
Wilson
started week
played
1.
so well they couldn't keep him off the
Yes,
field.
he beat out Matt Flynn for that job when Flynn was supposed to be the guy. They
Right.
signed him as a free agent. He was supposed to be. Russ was so good right away that he got the job.
And he brought him a Super Bowl in short order.
And he
too.
wound up being, I mean, say what you want about him, and yeah, he can be a fraud and a fake and a phony, whatever else. He was an incredible quarterback.
He was great. He had a nice run.
If either Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders were that good that they couldn't keep him off the field,
They'd play
there'd
him.
be no reason for Kevin Stefanski not to play one or both.
That's exactly right.
It
You're
doesn't
right.
make any sense.
Yeah.
So come up with every conspiracy theory you want about either of them. Kevin Stefanski wants to win games. It's that simple.
And he should. And
Yeah.
so does Andrew Barry. And so do all the other players on the team. And
Yeah.
and they should.
You said conspiracy theory and it triggered something.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't think you had this in the rundown. Did you see the thing with Eric Dickerson?
I saw
did,
it.
but
saw it.
it to me, and I'll explain why I didn't put it in the rundown. What Dickerson said doesn't add up to what actually happened.
Exactly.
It's so stupid.
What? I didn't
Exactly.
see
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
School me up here. I didn't
Well,
see it.
Dickerson said that the NFL told everybody not to draft him.
But-
and then even before the Browns drafted him, they get a call from the NFL saying, don't draft
Right.
him.
Well, he said they got a call from somebody.
Somebody,
So
yeah.
which is it? Did the NFL say don't draft him, or did the NFL call
I
him?
think the way I read it was he was saying basically the NFL, we're gonna show
We're
this
gonna
kid
teach him a lesson.
We're gonna teach him a lesson.
This is so
This is
stupid.
the kind of stuff that gets internet legs, and it drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no credence to what he said.
So who is the magic person? If the NFL has this conspiracy,
Yeah, who
we're
could make
gonna,
the call?
We're going to teach this kid a lesson. First of
Right.
all, what lesson does he need to be taught? That's just, Steve, you don't want us to cuss? I'm catching him and putting him back in today, Steve.
Fiddlesticks.
I'm catching him and putting him back in today.
There's been so many bad guys that have come into the NFL that the league
But
didn't
they're
do
going to
that
teach a lesson with this
Yeah,
one. Come on.
why him? He's
Right.
like one of the most likable
I
kids
know, it just doesn't
that
make
you'll
any
ever
sense.
be
So,
around.
so if the NFL has this conspiracy theory, who's the one that called the Browns?
That's what I
Who?
wondered. And
You know-
what did
you know
that
what?
call look like and sound like? Hello? This is Dark Agent X from
Right.
the NFL. On behalf of Roger Goodell, do not draft Shedeur Sanders.
But
Okay.
So who's bigger than the NFL? And I actually heard this after the draft.
Yeah.
That Trump called Haslam and told him to take Shedeur. Like I heard that.
Yeah, that was going around
Yeah.
too. That
like
was
this
definitely
is this
going
is
around.
the world that we are
This
in
is
right
what
now.
we're dealing
This
with.
is
It's
so stupid. There was no conspiracy theory against Shedeur. They didn't like him. I'm sorry to all of the unhinged, fragile Shedeur fans out there. The NFL did not like him.
Yeah.
I like him.
I do too.
I like him. He's incredibly likable. I'm rooting for the kid to win the job. I have said since they drafted him, I hope when we get to the end of the season, he has more starts than anybody else on this roster because he's the most legitimate chance at finding a franchise quarterback. But for whatever reason, the rest of the NFL does not agree with us, with you. They didn't like him. And I laid out yesterday, I was talking to one of the NFL coaches, a coach in the NFL who watched the tape of Shedeur and said he's late. The Carolina tape said he was late on a number of throws. A lot of times he went where it wasn't supposed to go. So these guys are looking at things that we are not seeing.
Yeah, I'd say that Monday.
It's just the way that it is. And I don't like it either. Like, I want the kid to succeed and play because if they hit on a 5th-round pick, it opens up so many other possibilities.
Jay,
but it has not happened to this point.
To your point, I know that all of the conspiracy theorists and all of the people that are starting these things believe they're helping Shedeur Sanders' cause.
They're not.
I will say it's 180 degrees in the other direction. This kid had to answer a question yesterday, I believe. We ran it on the 5 or the 6
Wednesday.
o'clock show.
It was on Wednesday.
Okay. we ran the bite yesterday, so I didn't know what day it was. And maybe it was. No, yeah, it was yesterday, where he basically had to answer to the Dillon Gabriel
Dillon
soundbite.
Gabriel stupidity.
So what you're doing by casting all of these different theories out there, and some of them to me seem like ready-made excuses if and when he fails. Well, they didn't want him to succeed. They set him up to fail.
Yep.
So what you're doing is you're distracting him from his goal. His goal isn't to be thinking about Dillon Gabriel and what kind of conspiracy he might be a part of, and does he think I'm an entertainer and he's a competitor? It's all distracting. It's noise that he doesn't need.
Well, if you go back to the draft, and when they took him, I talked to someone who works in the league, and I wrote a column on, like, the person I talked to said, are you shocked they took Dillon over Shedeur? And this person I talked to said, that tells me, like, they want no part of everything that comes with it, and they need another distraction, like they need a hole in the head.
And they got it.
And then they wound up taking Shedeur anyway later on. And then what you just referenced is exactly what they were. This is what NFL teams are trying to avoid, where you've got one backup quarterback making a flippant comment. It may not have been great, like, wording. I don't think it was in any way a shot at Shedeur. It's just a flippant comment. But now you've got reporters asking Dillon about it. Now you've got reporters asking Shedeur about it. And for what? It's nonsense.
I actually think he has not been a distraction at all.
No.
He's
handled
himself
unbelievably professional level.
What he's doing is beyond professional.
With
all the pressure on him, with all the talk about him.
I agree.
He has been humble.
He's
if you
incredibly
needed him
likable.
to be, I don't want him to be humble. I want him to be himself.
He was at the Avon game last night.
Yeah, he was at the high school game, and he was
goes to
talking to
games.
kids at halftime.
Yeah.
He's
I saw he
talking
showed
to
up.
kids. He's in the community. I mean, the kids.
The
young man's doing everything right.
It would be awesome if he won the job. It would be awesome.
Well, the reason it'd be awesome is because it means he's a better quarterback than Joe Flacco.
That's not a high bar.
It is. It's a higher bar than anybody wants to give him credit for. Everybody's trying to keep him as low as they can all the time. Oh, he's not going to be the starter. He's ranked 31st of the 32. I don't care. He's the best quarterback we have on our roster right now.
Yes, he is.
And if Shedeur wins the job, not because of an injury, but Joe doesn't play well, Shedeur gets a chance and shines, that's a great thing for the Cleveland Browns because he's in his 20s and Joe's in his 40s.
Yeah.
And so I think, to your point, Bull, and I don't think we hit this hard enough, Shedeur handling it the way he's handled it, to me, gives him points.
100%.
It gives him points in personality. It gives him points in maturity.
Major points.
I loved I also saw another soundbite from him yesterday where he was asked about what do you make of you being do you want to win the second quarterback job? And his answer was so genuine and so likable. Again, he goes, I don't care what string I am. I don't. All I care about is getting a chance. And when I get my chance, I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to ball out, and I'm going to show everybody what I can do.
That's all he's got to do.
That's what he's supposed to say.
Yeah,
Who cares if he's second string, third string, or fourth string? It means nothing. He's going to get a chance to play, and what he does during that chance is going to determine how long he's here.
Yeah. And at this point, really where he was drafted is irrelevant. Like, now he's in the league. It doesn't matter anymore. Now, like you said, when he gets his opportunity, at some point, he will get an opportunity. The Browns never, or almost never, have a season where only one quarterback plays. I think we've seen it like once.
I mean, they had 5 2 years ago.
Yeah.
5.
Oh, how many last year?
3 or 4?
3.
They had 9 the last 2 years.
Was it
9 in
4
the
last
last 2
year?
years.
Yeah.
9 in the last 2 years. Odds are very good he's going to get a chance to play.
And I agree with you. I think he's got the most upside of any quarterback on this roster. And yes, I don't necessarily agree that everybody in the league doesn't think he's good. Clearly, there's a lot of people in the league that don't buy into him.
I mean, when you fall to the 5th round,
Well, not every team needed a quarterback.
it doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter. At that position, you don't have to need a quarterback to take the kid in the 4th round.
I am not a conspiracy theory guy at all. I'm disgusted by our world and all the conspiracy theories. I don't believe he would have. I've said this before. I don't think he dropped out of the 1st round because of who he is. I think he dropped out of the 1st round because nobody looked at him as a 1st-round talent.
Right.
I think he dropped further than he would have because of this perceived distraction.
I think there's validity to that.
Because some teams looked at him as maybe a backup or a guy fighting for the starting job, and they're like, just like whatever it is. There's been other quarterbacks in the past. I don't want to go down that road, but like, whether it's his fault or not, people perceived everything that comes with him as a distraction. It's not fair to him.
He wasn't taken till the 5th round, but he was the story of the draft.
That's right.
He was the story of day 1.
Yes.
He was the story of day 2.
He's the number one selling
of day
rookie.
3.
He is the number one selling rookie jersey in football.
Yes.
Name me another time in the history of the world where a 5th-round pick. Was
Now
the
that's
number
a
one selling
different.
jersey.
That's an interesting dynamic, and I think we're going to talk about that. I'm going to save that. My thoughts on that.
Save that
for the next topic
WKYC
because
show.
it's undeniable that his level of popularity is off the charts. And this makes me sad for him. Not because of his skill set, because of what he represents. He gathered this immense following through his college career, HBCU, Colorado, the elevation from lower level to upper level, and then having some success, both individually and team. Yeah. He was like a snowball going down a mountain. He gathered a lot of fans along the way. Now, that army has followed him to Cleveland. That could be a great thing for Cleveland. However, somebody made a great point to me earlier this week. Somebody that's covered the NFL for years and years and years and no longer does. He said, I've never seen a quarterback go from 3 or 4 on the depth chart to 1 because a fan base is advocating for
Nor
him.
should he.
Nor should he.
But
a guy that's better than him shouldn't fall below him because he doesn't have people advocating for him. He said all of the people that are doing all of this loud screaming advocating for him, they think they're helping him.
They're not.
It will not move the meter.
I don't agree that he's not popular because of his skill set and his talent. That factors in.
Of course
but
it
it's
does.
far from the only reason why.
But if you were to list all of the factors he's a phenomenon. There's no question about it.
It's crazy.
If you're to list the factors of why he's a phenomenon, of course his skill set is in there, but it's not like it's almost like Johnny Manziel. That's why it's so interesting to me that here we go again down the same road.
I think it's like Tim Tebow.
There's a little Tim Tebow to it, but
I think he's a better player.
It might actually be a middle ground between Tim Tebow and Johnny Manziel.
I think it's bigger than Tebow. I think it's bigger than every.
He is bigger than any of them.
It's insane to me.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, sadly for Tebow and Manziel, the hype fizzled, and when we got to see the product, we saw with our own eyes what it was. I'm hoping that that's not the case with Shedeur. I would love to see this kid have a 15-year career right here in Cleveland. That means that means he's doing big things. He's not going 5-12.
It would be quite the story if it was turned out to be a guy with all this hype, drafted late, ended up being the savior of this franchise.
Yes.
Real quick before we move on to our next topic. How do you think they look, both of them, real quick? We'll start with you, go around the horn. Dillon and Shedeur against the Rams on Saturday.
Expect them both to look good. To me, Shedeur's looked better than Dillon Gabriel, and he's playing later, so I'm expecting him to play better. But I think they'll both be, at minimum, competent, and we won't be like, oh, my God, what is,
Yeah, I don't think
we'll see that from either of them.
Yeah, okay. I think they'll be fine. It's so hard to gush praise for all the reasons you guys already laid out. You can't come in here and do victory laps if they look great against guys who are going to be cut. You better look great against guys who aren't going to be in the NFL in a week. It's just you just want to see them play. It's all. It's not even
the chance.
The result. It's just seeing them out there.
Yeah, get the reps. I expect them both to play very well. But as you said, later in the game, you're playing against. Now, sometimes that could be interesting too because those guys are fighting for their careers.
Absolutely.
So they will be playing hard. They may lack the talent to be NFL players, but they're not going to lollygag it. There's going to be no lack of effort in that second half.
Certainly not.
Because most of these guys will tell you
it might be
that's the most important half of their lives.
It might be the last time they put on an NFL jersey.
And they all know that.
Yeah.
And because of that, effort will not be the problem. It'll be skill.
And I think it's good that Flacco, the starters, are playing because they haven't played the whole preseason.
Yes,
and
I agree.
You got to get some game action. I know you don't want anybody to get hurt, but
I'm with you.
You got to be ready to play.
I want to see him in regular action. I know practice is great, and I don't worry about him. I know once the lights come on, he's going to be just fine. But let's work out some of the bugs and the kinks.
We talked about it yesterday. I said Bitonio, Miles, and Denzel sit. They go nowhere near the field.
Yeah.
Everybody else
play.
Yep, I heard somebody this morning, like I say, was like, the Browns shouldn't start all their veteran offensive linemen. And I'm like, what? Well, you got a 40-year-old quarterback. You better protect them.
Yes. Yes.
And get in that game shape rhythm, especially for
right.
the offensive line.
Denzel Ward 100% not going to
Yeah,
play.
he better
should
not
never-
even be in uniform.
He should never play another preseason game the rest of his
Ever.
career.
No.
Honestly.
Ever.
No.
I was upset when he got the concussion against the Chiefs in the preseason.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
A guy with his history.
we know what he can do.
He needs to be in bubble wrap
Until
for the
you need
preseason,
him.
for the rest of his career.
Him
I
and
agree.
Miles and Joel should never play another preseason game
Well,
the rest
this
of
may
their
be
career.
Joel's
Good with
last
that.
preseason
Yeah.
game, but
I'm good with that.
we'll see.